A specialist in microbiology and virology says if special measures are not implemented in the crisis-hit northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon to prevent the spread of the COVID-19, a catastrophe is right ahead. Professor Francois-Xavier Mbopikeyu was speaking on La Vérité en Face yesterday, and you will hear him in this newscast as the number of cases of coronavirus continue rising in the Republic of Cameroon. Government is stepping up efforts to stem the disease. The Minister of Territorial Administration at Tanganji Paul was meeting with governors and some top government officials in Yaoundé today. Thanks, dear viewers, for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. As the number of confirmed and death cases of the coronavirus continue rising in the Republic of Cameroon, the government is stepping up efforts to prevent the spread of COVID-19 across the national territory. The Minister of Territorial Administration at Tanganji Paul was meeting with the 10 governors, or the governors of the 10 regions of the Republic of Cameroon, and of course some top government officials, including the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi, the Minister of Transport, Ngale Bibehe, today in Yaoundé, and they were discussing strategies to enforce the implementation of the measures that have been taken by government to prevent the spread of COVID-19 across the country. And the Minister of Territorial Administration indicated that there are still some persons who are hesitating as far as the implementation of the measures put in place by the government is concerned, and even the respect of hygiene rules of the World Health Organization to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Take a listen to Minister Atanganji Paul.
In the last meeting, the Prime Minister of Government mentioned that people were still reluctant in implementing the measures taken by the government. These measures are very, very useful measures, and I think that if we all put our hands together to implement the measures taken by the government, I think that we can contain the propagation of this virus, which is a very dangerous virus. So it has to do with a lot of self-discipline and collective discipline. We are all concerned. Self-discipline, collective discipline. In all the sectors, health, transport, security, we put all these things together. That's why you see the bosses of all the different sectors are here for us to brainstorm and to see how effectively we can implement the measures decided by the government, which were announced by the Prime Minister, head of government. You can see we have the governors who are here in the regions which are very touched, and the other regions which are very close to the regions. Because if you go from the west region to the northwest, it's just a stone throw. If you go from the littoral region to the southwest, it's just a stone throw. If you go from the central region to the south region, it's just a stone throw. So we are all interconnected. It means that we have to try as much as possible to individually discipline and collectively discipline, and we have to carry the messages out.
As the Minister of Transport said, and as the Minister of Health has always said, the population should help us to protect them. And the only way that they can help us to protect them is by implementing the measures which were approved by the head of state and clearly outlined to the public by the Prime Minister, head of government.
Cameroon now has more than 130 confirmed cases of the COVID-19 and at least 6 deaths recorded in Yaoundé and Douala. And the Minister of Public Health is urging all Cameroonians to respect the rules put in place, the measures put in place by government and the sanitation rules of the World Health Organization to prevent the further spreading of the COVID-19 across the country. And is also also calling on Cameroonians to denounce all persons who came from abroad and are hiding in their homes in violation of the rules put in place by the government. Notably, they call on all persons who came into the country recently to present themselves to be confined and to be observed within a period of 14 days. And the measures have been taken. In the meantime, there are calls for special measures to be implemented in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, and a specialist in microbiology and virology, Professor Francois Xavier Mbopikeyu, says that if special measures are not implemented in the crisis-hit northwest and southwest regions of the country, a catastrophe is right ahead.
The decision to free prisoners is not clearly, I'm not clearly in the position to suggest that, but I think we should clearly implement as quickly as possible those preventive measures.
And apart from the measures,
secondly,
right,
on the measures, and firstly, and then secondly, we should rapidly have a screening in those prisons. Know clearly those who are infected and those who are not. Immediately, we should do that. And thirdly, that's a very good point, that working in the interministerial session, I think the Prime Minister, I'm sure they will consider measures, but as a scientist, I believe that as quickly as possible, we give to those people the means, soaps, everything, to make sure that they cannot be contagious to others, and rapidly screen those people. Should we have rapid testing today, I can assure you, in many prisons, you can screen those people within a week.
Professor Francois Xavier Mbopikeyu, specialist in microbiology and virology, speaking there on calls for the liberation of all prisoners in the country, calls coming from political leaders who think that if there is a case of COVID-19 in one of the incarceration centers across the country, it is going to be catastrophic. And some other African countries, including Ethiopia, have already decided to free some prisoners. Ethiopia has decided to free 4,000 inmates with minor crimes and women with babies as part of the country's measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And Professor Francois Xavier thinks that instead of freeing the prisoners, they should be screened. All of them should be screened, and those tested positive put in quarantine. And he also spoke, as I indicated earlier, on special measures which should be implemented in the crisis-hit northwest and southwest regions of the country in order to prevent a catastrophic situation in those parts of the country hit by socio-political and security crisis for more than 3 years today. Take a listen to Professor Francois Xavier Mbopikeyu.
I think I probably surprised even your very distinguished colleague, Mr. Nufele, when I begged for 2 minutes last week to address our brothers and sisters and said that if there's no ceasefire, we are in danger. We needed a ceasefire, and that ceasefire should be within the two parties, first. And then secondly, after we've addressed the ceasefire, we should stand as a nation and ask ourselves, what do we do to tackle this pandemic, so that we don't ask ourselves tomorrow, what should have been done to do this? And I'm so happy, by the way, that my many colleagues in the Northwest and Southwest recently told me that they seems to be in a position to be able to tackle. It seems to be like there is a sort of ceasefire, and I'm really putting my knees down and begging that this should happen, unless we will face a disaster.
And the divisional officer of Otiko subdivision in the southwest region of Cameroon is expressing worries over the non-implementation of rules or measures put in place by the government to fight the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. He was speaking during a sensitization tour of his municipality, and he went calling on the people to respect the measures put in place by government and the health or sanitation rules of the World Health Organization in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in his municipality in the southwest region and the entire nation. Derek Jato reports.
You know the coronavirus, so you want to be an agent of the spread of the virus.
It has been proven that it is another fight with the population for them to see the need to fight coronavirus, which is already in the region.
We realized that in Otiko subdivision, the population was putting up a carefree attitude. That is why
his name is Anwafo Kletos Asungwe. He is the divisional officer for Otiko subdivision, the main gateway into the southwest region.
You will see this place. We have said that you don't sell food, don't sell drinks without at least a place for people to wash their hands.
It is an afternoon here in Mutengeni. The divisional officer for Otiko subdivision, accompanied by Chief Mrs. Peter Kamer II, the mayor of Otiko Council, are moving from one shop to another, facing the recalcitrant ones head-on. It is either they protect themselves and others or be dragged before the law.
Wait, what are you showing me? Is there soap there? People will see this place.
Time for talks is over, and Anwafo Kletos Asungwe, the divisional officer for Otiko subdivision, is heading the operation.
Are you a school child?
He has just intercepted these school kids sent by their parents to the street to generate income for the family.
You should not come to school because of what? Coronavirus. It was because they want to keep you protected, and your parents were supposed to keep you in the house so that you should be protected. Now you are going around, you are going everywhere, you expose yourself to contamination and you contaminate others. That is why we are going to cease this. You go back, you tell your parents that it has been ceased and that we don't want to see you outside again. Have you heard? Are you taking? I want to take it over immediately.
And at all entry points into the Otiko municipality, the Otiko Council practical message was visible. Wash your hands before entering into our subdivision. And water tanks were stationed at all various entry points for the exercise. And Chief Mayor Mrs. Peter Kamer II was doing the supervision himself.
So in a way of fighting it, we have targeted all the entrance into the Otiko municipality. From Boya, we are in front of the gendarmerie post. From Douala, we have a sanitizing point at Miselele Control. From Limbe, we have targeted the Pigmop market. Everybody entering Otiko must step down from the car and sanitize his or herself before entering into the municipality.
With one corona case now confirmed in Limbe, time for all to take the preventive measures more seriously is now, for we are all potential coronavirus next cases. The coronavirus is not the respecter of persons, authorities. 1.
And implementation of government's anti-COVID-19 measures is having an adverse effect on the transport sector, and some inter-urban transport agency officials are complaining of the impact and the fact that some other measures have not been taken alongside the measures taken by the Ministry of Transport to implement or to mitigate the impact of the measures of government on the transport sector. They are saying that if things continue moving down the drain, they will be compelled to halt all activities. Details with Fomi Armstrong Sander.
In a Bolova in the south region of Cameroon, the implementation of the COVID-19 preventive measures taken by the government of Cameroon has created animosity among travelers, owners of travel agencies and individual commercial vehicle owners. Travel agency owners say their profit margin has been reduced as they are compelled to do just 5 trips a day. Transport cost between Bolova and Yaoundé has been reduced from 2,300 francs CFE to 1,500 francs CFA by the senior divisional officer for the Villa division, who conditioned that as the contribution of owners of interurban transport agencies in Bolova to the government of Cameroon's fight against COVID-19. Take a 30-seater bus, for example. When you reduce 15 places as demanded by the senior divisional officer, you will lose 45,000 francs CFA to and from Yaoundé. What will you be left with for fuel, for the driver, and to settle control? Travelers who fail to catch up with the few trips of travel agencies are compelled to pay between 3,000 to 5,000 francs CFA to individual commercial vehicle owners from Bolova to Yaoundé. I had to travel to Yaoundé, but was told that trips have been limited to just 5 a day. We are just confused. Today we are asked to pay 4,000 francs. The next day we are demanded to pay 5,000 francs, and so on and so forth. Faced with the complex situation and unable to meet up their running costs, interurban travel agency owners in Bolova say they have opted to shut down their activities. According to Takojo Cyril of the Villa Voyage, a meeting has been planned to explain to his workers the need for them to go on break. He has also forwarded necessary documents to the Labour Inspectorate to inform them of his decision to send his workers on break. Look at how travelers are exploited by individuals. They are made to pay 5,000 francs CFA from Bolova to Yaoundé, but the senior divisional officer insists that we of the travel agency should collect just 1,500 francs for the same distance. We have decided to stop work. It is not profitable at all. To effectively implement the government's measures against COVID-19 in the transport sector in Bolova, travel agency owners say the government should reduce fuel prices just to enable them meet running costs.
In the report coming up next, Innocent as they take a look at the measures that have been taken and being implemented across the African continent to stop the spread of the COVID-19.
Most African nations hit by the COVID-19 pandemic are taking stringent measures to limit spread. In Uganda, for instance, 2 men were unfortunately shot and now hospitalized by security forces for violating restriction on transport in a bid to curb the spread of the coronavirus.
No, you see, when they resist, we have to use force.
Ugandan president had urged people to stay home. Schools, entertainment spots, worship, and some agricultural markets have been shut for a month and people banned from using public transport and being more than 3 in a car. Ugandan police and soldiers in the capital beat fruit vendors, market goers, and people in bars with batons in a bid to disperse people gathering in groups. In Kenya, riot police fired tear gas into a crowded market last week in an attempt to clear it in accordance with government's rules to prevent the spread of the COVID-19. The Kenyan government issued orders last week to close all open markets and bus parking lots where crowds of people gather. Most African countries have turned to use harsh methods to compel their populations adhere to preventive measures. As contagious cases keep rising daily, new measures are adopted to control the COVID-19. A case in suggests other countries emulate. Another measure appraised is action of some African countries to free prisoners who are at risk of contracting the epidemic. Ethiopia, for instance, has pardoned more than 4,000 prisoners to help prevent the spread of this coronavirus. These are prisoners with minor crimes and those who were about to be released, including older persons, plus those with poor health conditions. Ethiopia became one of the African countries to adhere to the United Nations call for countries to reduce prison populations. Cameroon and some African countries are yet to take such a bold and positive step, also recommended by Human Rights Watch.
And that's it for the first part of this newscast. Coming up in Talking Points, meet our Southwest correspondents Derek Chatton and the director of the Limbe Regional Hospital, Dr. Kinge Thompson Nje.
Welcome to the Limbe Mile 1 Regional Hospital. We are in Fako Division, Southwest region of Cameroon. And we are here at the Mile 1 Regional Hospital. We are going to talk on how to break this chain of the infection of coronavirus. My guest is Dr. Thompson Kingenje. He is the director of the Mile 1 Regional Hospital. Director, we are talking about the coronavirus. How is the situation at the level of Limbe?
Well, I can tell you that people in Limbe are fully aware that there is this very, very much dreaded pandemic due to the coronavirus. Up to this moment, the regional hospital Limbe has identified 2 individuals, one aged 26 and the other 54, who were temporarily isolated. Samples have been taken to Yaoundé and we are awaiting their results at this moment. One of them, the 54-year-old man, had difficulties in breathing, so we had to refer him to Lakentini in Douala yesterday.
Director, when you say referring him to Lakentini in Douala, does it mean that your hospital cannot handle cases as such?
You know, we couldn't have kept him here because when we noticed, when he complained that he felt very, very much tired, we feared that breathing may fail, and we do not have respirators here. And so to give him the best chances of survival, we thought that we should refer him as early as possible to Douala.
Yes, you are just informing us now that you had 2 cases. We know about the earlier announced 2 suspected cases at the level of Boya Regional Hospital Annex and 1 here at the level of my 1 Regional Hospital. So we have again, we don't know whether it is just rumor or you can confirm now that the earlier suspected cases have been declared negative.
Well, it is good news each time that we hear that a patient has been, someone has been isolated and the test for corona turns out to be negative. It is very, very good news.
So how many suspected cases have we recorded in
so
the
far at the regional hospital Limbe? We've had 2.
2.
Yeah.
All right. Now, doctor, tell us, we have been following preventive measures, the government announcing that 18 preventive measures must be followed. Limbe is a town that people say everybody in the nation is at least represented in Limbe. You are the director of the Limbe Maiwa Regional Hospital. Are these preventive measures being followed here?
Thanks for giving me this opportunity because I now have another chance to say that government has done a lot to sensitize Cameroonians, to make them understand that the news about the coronavirus is real all over the world. Coronavirus infections are in Cameroon, and with the 13 measures the head of government gave us the other day, these are all to keep Cameroonians safe. I must say at this point in time that apparently we have left infections which we could describe as imported. Today, I believe we are already dealing with domestic infections. I mean that people who have never traveled might have been infected and they are now infecting others. So this is a very, very serious and worrisome situation that I wish all Cameroonians, and especially people in Limbe, because like you say, it is life as usual. From what I see, taxis are full, they are even overloaded, markets are very, very full, shops are full, and the impression one will have is that they do not yet believe that coronavirus infections are a reality in Cameroon and in Limbe. Why not? Although we've not yet had a positive case confirmed up to this moment.
Dr. Kinge Thompson, you are a specialist in infection diseases.
You're correct.
How can you assess the evolution of things here? At the time I left my office, it was announced that globally we have over 600,000 that's confirmed cases of coronavirus, and your country, Cameroon, is gradually creeping into 100. You are an infection specialist. What account for this?
Thank you very much for this wonderful question. What I have to tell you is that the spread of this infection is certainly faster than people think. And this is a general observation all over the world. Let me describe the situation to you. When somebody gets infected, say the person has just been infected, the person or presenting with these famous signs of coughing, sneezing, sore throat, difficulties in breathing, about 5 days or 6 days into the infection, people usually minimize, ignore flu because these signs are like the common flu. So it may take them 2-3 more days to, sluggishly go to a hospital. We are into 8 days. And once things happen to go very fast in a hospital, it may take 24 hours, 48 hours to take samples and to have results. So we are 10 days. And when statistics are updated the way they are done today, you can safely say that this information is already obsolete. It is as good as it was 10 days ago, averagely. So what I would say is that we have to be careful, we have to be proactive.
Some critics say Cameroon don't want to learn from other countries and from other continents. For example, the Prime Minister of Britain, Boris Johnson, has been tested positive. We know about the cry from the people of Italy saying that please lock down your borders if you don't want to see what some of us are seeing here. This virus is more than our technology. Director, you have just expressed some worries here. If you are to advise the government or the Cameroon Minister of Public Health, would you stand for that the nation should be given a total lockdown?
Let me tell you that by the time I can guess that by the time the Prime Minister came up with these measures, he thought that these were difficult measures. These are emotional decisions. When you recognize that many people are poor, many people live on a day-to-day basis between hands, it's not easy to confine people. It cannot be easy. But that isolation, lockdown appears to be the only good thing to do today. The only decision that can reduce the number of risks we take every day by meeting people we've not met before, we do not know who those people had earlier met. And so lockdown is going to help all of us, come up with an accurate number of people who are sick. Because when people stay in their homes and they are encouraged to call, only when they present with these signs and symptoms, they will call from the spot. Medical attention will be given to them from home. Ambulances may be sent to pick up these people from their homes. Now, when this happens, certainly whoever may be infected would not have had the chances perhaps to infect someone in a taxi. They would not have had the chance to handle the door of a taxi, the door of an office, would not have had the chances of, infecting people who may be waiting in a hospital. So this is the way we can slow down. Isolation is the best way of slowing down and the best way of identifying who is where, who is who, and who is where, so that medical attention can be focused only to those. And mark you, it's not because a hospital may have 10 beds in an isolated ward that you bring 10 different people who are not yet confirmed to have the infection to live in the same room, because we have what we know as cross infections. If all of these people are infected, they could still infect one another in that room. If all of these people are not infected, they could infect those who are not infected. So isolating people in one place, as we try to do here, is not really the best. Let us identify these people in their comfortable homes. They need comfort. They should stay in their comfortable homes. Call us so that medical attention can be focused and directed towards them.
Right. Director of the Limbe Maiwan Regional Hospital. You are operating here in the region. Limbe happens to be a town today now that is facing a lot of influx. Some even describe the town as an inelastic Limbe, because Limbe has been pushed to its walls, and yet people are coming every day here as a safe haven because of the Anglophone crisis, I must say. But now tell us, this particular region called the Southwest and the Anglophone crisis, now coronavirus, can this insecurity of the crisis prevent the measures of the government in a way to fight against this dreaded coronavirus?
I cannot say so, because Limbe is not more crowded than Douala. At the same time, you may be tempted to say that you may have more people in Limbe today because people have left their homes. People in Limbe may be those who live from hand to mouth, people who are unable to control their environment because they are guests into a home. They might have to leave their homes every day to go look for something to eat. So measures like stay at home could be very, very difficult to be implemented by these people. That's the way I see things. But again, I wouldn't say there are more people, there are poorer people in Limbe than in Douala. Douala is a crowded city, and I understand movements are not reduced at all. Transportation is as normal as usual. So what I see is that Cameroonians, wherever they are, those Cameroonians in Limbe or Douala or Yaoundé, we need to take this issue a little bit more seriously, because if you hear stories surrounding COVID-19, if you hear stories or you read stories in social media, people are proposing all kinds of things. Some even distill humor out of it. That is why I really sometimes I fear, because it's not humorous at all when we are talking about COVID-19. I would say that Cameroonians should be serious now. Cameroonians, all of us, should start behaving as if we are all infected, so that you behave in ways that will not transmit, will not encourage transmission of this virus from you to another person. Behave as if the next person to you is infected, so that you can actually protect yourself with the mask. Behave as if everybody is infected, so that you can wash your hands each time the opportunity presents itself. That is the kind of attitude. Yes, I also agree that Cameroonians should not panic. Well, why shouldn't they panic? If they must not panic, the time to fear is now, because early death can be your portion if you are not careful.
Dr. Kinge Thompson Nje, Director of the Maiwan Regional Hospital here in, of course, in Limbe, Faku Division of the Southwest region of Cameroon. Just tell me, how was the feeling when you saw that first case, that suspected case in your hospital, the general atmosphere that finally it is on our doorsteps? What was the feeling?
It was a bad feeling because I am very, very sensitive to the complications related to having a case which may be an index case for many other infections around the place. I was very, very anxious because I noticed that the staff were also very, very anxious. But please give me this opportunity to say thank you to the very, very courageous doctors and nurses working at the Regional Hospital Limbe, because when we had this first case and even the second case, I saw dedicated doctors and nurses who did just everything that we had asked them to do for these patients. So this is an opportunity to say thank you to the staff of Regional Hospital Limbe. You are courageous, and we need to remain courageous and passionate in the way we continue to do our work here. So I was anxious, the staff was anxious, but we did what we had to do.
Let's talk about Limbe Maiwan Regional Hospital and its capacity. We talk about the staff strength. The two cases was, I could say, was maturely handled, not because you have all the equipment to do that, but because of the devotedness and the cases anyway were few. But with the way things are happening now, if 10 suspected cases are reported here today, do you have that? Let's talk about the space. Let's talk about the isolation center. Do you really have that capacity to handle that here at the Limbe Maiwan Regional Hospital?
We don't have that capacity. We cannot say that. I can't say that there is a single hospital in Cameroon that has that capacity to handle 10 patients. But we can safely screen such patients to know who can be isolated at home, who can be observed in a level 3 hospital like ours, and who can be referred to a level 2 or level 1 hospital in Cameroon. So we will know how to manage. If we had 10 cases, we will know how to. We can devise strategies to have home-based care. We will use few rooms here, and then we coordinate our activities with bigger hospitals in Douala and Yaoundé.
Thank you so much. Director, there's one senior divisional officer here in the Southwest region. He is the senior divisional officer for Indian Division by name Fowan Lawrence. He told Equinox Television that he has added his own measures to the government 13-point measures by sealing all drinking spots in his division. Now, look at this camera and tell the people of Limbe and Fako Division, what can you tell them as your own special measures that must be taken if we must fight and kick out or stop this coronavirus from visiting?
I wish to tell people in Limbe that crowding is the only and biggest risk factor for contracting coronavirus, crowding. And when people say that you should not be crowded in the market, in the bars, in the taxis, wherever, it is to reduce the risk, this risk factor. People in Limbe who may not be able to stock foodstuffs in their homes should plan in a way that if you need bread, jump out of your home, run into a bakery, get your bread and run back home. Stay at home. Stay at home is the message.
Director, is there any to facilitate communication for easy access? Do we have any number that the people of Limbe can call if they suspect anybody with symptoms of coronavirus even in the neighborhood?
Yes, of course. We have 2 emergency numbers, and these are 656 437774 and 674-003662. These are numbers which have been made public. We are carrying the telephone to respond 24/24 to questions, and we keep on encouraging people who have signs that could cause anyone to suspect an infection by coronavirus should call these numbers. We will organize ourselves at the regional hospital Limbe and give you instructions on what to do, or we can simply come to your house to give you medical attention.
Thank you very so much. Now, other countries, we hear other countries are even going to release their prisoners, all in the name of fighting this dreaded pandemic. We are yet to see Cameroon order for a complete lockdown of her cities, but many people are equally with the opinion that the Cameroon government should see into that and even see how they can support. Why not reduce some certain commodities, consumable commodities of her population, for these people to stay home comfortably. In quote, they are very poor people. Cameroon, most people here, they live below the poverty line. To support that, Cameroon government should do something economically.
Well, let me tell you that fighting the coronavirus in Cameroon shouldn't be a copy and paste matter. I know that Cameroonians are diversified in many, many ways. You are excellent so far as communication is concerned. The doctors are trying to do their best. The Prime Minister, the Minister of Public Health, all of us Cameroonians are trying to do something. And I know that not even the head of state is sleeping because of this pandemic. And so when the right time comes for some decisions like what you are saying, decisions related to the economy, they will be announced, because I know that this is number one priority for the government of Cameroon.
Thank you very so much.
Thank you.
There are also myths. Some people say you can eat a lot of garlic. Some people say you can drink water, that's after every 15 minutes. There are some myths. We need people like you, especially, Director, you are a specialist in infection disease. Is garlic a way to fight this?
Thank you very much. This is a very, very good question. Let me tell you that in the natural evolution of the coronavirus infection, a lot has to do with the immune system of the patient. When you hear that a lot of old people are dying, simply because the older you become, the weaker your immune system becomes. That's why you hear that older people cannot withstand this infection as much as younger people. Now, people have talked of eating a lot of garlic, eating drinking a lot of citron juice, drinking a lot of orange juice, eating all sorts of things. This is no treatment for the coronavirus. But I may say that there are so many good things listed out there. I've read some of them on social media, which have something to do with boosting the immune system of someone. So if you can eat all of those good things, vegetables, fruits that can boost your immune system, that is fine. But mark you, take note. There are so many people who are also already going into auto-medication. I don't mind if you eat a basket of fruits every day, but some people are tempted to go into the pharmacy because they have heard that, and buying drugs to keep them at home. This is very, very dangerous. People should not buy drugs for themselves, keep them at home, and take them just when they want. If they feel sick, please let them go to the nearest health center or to the nearest hospital.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kinge Townsend Nje. You are the director of the Maiwan Regional Hospital here in Fakut Division of the Southwest region of Cameroon, and you are equally an infection specialist. We are very, very happy for your time and for accepting to talk to us.
Thank you.